Hi everyone, welcome to today's webinar, Benefits of a Professional Trustee. My name is Caroline and I will be your moderator today. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the webinar environment, these are the Zoom settings. Let's take a closer look at the webinar controls. Select audio settings to select and test your speakers. Submit questions via the chat button. We will answer your questions at the end of the webinar if time permits. Click Leave Meeting if you need to leave at any time. When you leave the webinar, there will be a short survey that pops up. We would really appreciate if you could take a minute to answer the questions before leaving. If you have any issues during the webinar, please use the chat box. For testing purposes, please write in there now if you can hear us. Now I would like to introduce today's presenter, Trust Director Jen Raffley. Welcome, Jen.
Thanks, Caroline. Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. Hopefully everybody can hear because nobody has written in the webinar chat if you can hear us. But if somebody would be brave and just pop in the chat, yes, we can hear you, that would be great. Appreciate that. Welcome to today's webinar on the benefits of a professional trustee. I feel like I should have renamed this webinar The Perils of Not Appointing a Professional Trustee, but I don't want to be too heavy for a Wednesday morning. We are just checking on the audio because we've still not had anyone respond regarding the sound. We're just checking on that now, so just give us a second. Hang on 2 seconds, people. We're just going to check internally. Okay, we'll just carry on and then hopefully we'll hear from somebody in a minute. My name's Jen Raffley, as Caroline clearly said. I have 15 years of experience in trust management and administration, and I've lived in New Zealand for coming up to 9 wonderful years. I was appointed as a director of our 60+ trustee companies a couple of years ago and provide professional trustee services to over 450 trusts here at Ingamora. So hopefully today you will go away with a little bit of knowledge regarding the benefits of a professional trustee and certainly feel comfortable and in a position to contact us should you need any more information. Let's have a quick look at the agenda regarding what we're going to be going through today. And I've had confirmation that the sound is good, so thank you very much. We are going to be going through lots of different things, and the webinar should last around 30 minutes, but if it's too long, then we'll try and stick to time, but hopefully it won't be too long. I've laid out the topics above, which we're going to cover. And of course, at the end, there's going to be time for a Q&A. But if we do run out of time, please feel free to email me with your questions and I'll do my best to help. I'm not going to go through the agenda and read through each line individually because we'll get to it and see where we are. Okay, let's take a minute to remind ourselves what a trust structure looks like. We have a typical New Zealand trust structure in front of us here. And on the left-hand side is Mr. Smith. He's the settlor. Let's say Mr. Smith is a doctor, a very smart man. He's decided to buy into a medical practice and has taken the idea to approach his solicitor or his accountant and has been recommended to set up a trust. He's called it the Star Trust. This is usually the most exciting part of the client to choose the trust name. And I think my favorite one in the past is probably the Marmite Trust, but we've gone with something boring today. The Star Trust has been set up by way of a trust deed, and the trustees have signed that trust deed alongside the settlor. Mr. Smith has been very smart and has decided to appoint an independent trustee company. And he is also going to sit alongside this trustee company as the settlor, as the trustee, also being the settlor. Very common in New Zealand to have a settlor also acting as a trustee. He's established the trust on behalf of beneficiaries. He has his children, his lovely wife, and he has his grandchildren in there. And Mr. Smith is also a very kind person and has decided to leave some funds to Waipuna Hospice down the line. That would be a typical class of beneficiaries that you would see in a New Zealand trust. The trustees have now gained ownership of Mr. Smith's assets. He's transferred them over and he has relinquished legal control. The trustees manage the trust on behalf of the beneficiaries and in accordance with the trust deed and legislation. And just a note regarding the appointer at the top, Mr. Smith will also typically be the appointer, and that is the person who holds the power to appoint and remove trustees. So as you can see here, Mr. Smith is the settlor, trustee, appointer, and will be a beneficiary as well. So he holds lots of different roles in this structure, and he is appointed an independent trustee, which will become very important down the line, and we will go into that. Who benefits from a professional trustee being appointed as a trustee of their trust? So it's not just for billionaires. There's lots of different wide range of people who can benefit from creating a trust. The biggest one I would say is probably entrepreneurs, business owners, anyone looking to use trusts to protect business assets from creditors. Is individuals wanting to ensure tax efficiency, intergenerational wealth. Many of you will know that the tax rate has recently been changed from 33% to 39%. I believe that's coming in April, although, in July, but obviously our Ingamora tax experts here would be the best one to speak to about that. But there are certain ways that we can still structure trusts tax effectively, obviously on consultation with your accountant. Families seeking to prevent disputes among beneficiaries. So trusts offer a much more secure way that you can structure your succession of assets rather than through your estate. Families with children from multiple relationships, sort of second, third, fourth, fifth, whatever you're into, marriages. Those entering into a new relationship or a new marriage or a de facto relationship, blended families, etc. Very good for structuring succession of assets and protection of assets through these kind of structures. Any situation where disputes between family members are likely, and of course, protection of assets from relationship property matters. Although, important disclaimer, throwing everything into a trust in the middle of a breakup isn't going to protect the assets, unfortunately. So please take care here and always take legal advice from your solicitors. A couple more, which are trusts set up for minors, disabled family members, any individuals unable to manage finances independently, and anyone concerned about personal liability, in terms of their sort of business activities or otherwise. Okay. What are the benefits of a professional trustee? Well, there's lots, but of course, we offer expertise and compliance. So managing a trust involves navigating very complex legal, tax, financial requirements. A professional trustee ensures compliance with the Trust Act 2019 and other relevant laws, reducing the risk of errors and liability. Impartiality and objectivity, so family dynamics can create conflicts when a lay trustee is involved, and we have lots of those. So a professional trustee acts as an independent party, making fair and unbiased decisions that align with the trust objectives without getting involved in the family politics. And unlike individual lay trustees, we'll come on to this term lay trustees in a minute, who may step down or become a bit unavailable, sort of, lose interest in the trust, not be sort of able to make decisions because of their knowledge. Professional trustees provide long-term consistency. And this stability is crucial in managing the trust's integrity over generations. Failing to adhere to trust objectives can lead to, disputes, financial consequences. Professional trustees bring liability coverage and structured risk management. So protecting the trust and its beneficiaries. The beneficiaries are the ones that we're always concerned about. The trustee's main objective is to look after them. And finally, support. I think in a real world kind of example, this is where I feel like our clients benefit the most. having a person to talk to, ask questions, review documents, come in, pop in with things that they need looked at or signed, act as a go-between between the various many parties that we deal with on a daily basis, banks, lawyers, to name a few. So always here to support our clients in terms of anything that they may need. Understanding the role of a trustee. What is a trustee and what form can it take? Okay, so a lot of trusts that we take on to look at will currently have something called a lay trustee. And that is a family member, friend, someone you appoint, because in the trust deed it says you need to have 2 people. Usually these people are not qualified and they may have some but limited knowledge regarding the trust. There's nothing wrong with appointing a lay trustee, but obviously that person will need to do a bit of research and have some understanding regarding what it means to be a trustee and their liability. So providing that person is willing to and able to look at the legislation and understand it, that's okay. One thing I will say is that often there is a requirement for an independent trustee in the deed, which is often overlooked. So a lot of trust deeds restrict only beneficiaries making decisions on behalf of the trust, and that's actually restricted under the trust deed. So you need to make sure that you're not appointing 2 of the beneficiaries of the trust, one of them being the settlor and one of them being the beneficiary, if your trust deed restricts it. So if you do have any questions there, please let us know, because it can be quite hard to navigate the different trust deeds in New Zealand. Not having an independent trustee, that is a big no, red flag. So if you have a trust which is just being managed by the same person who settled it, the same person who's the trustee, the beneficiary, the appointor, going back to that structure chart, Mr. Smith, if he was sitting there doing all of those, having all of those roles by himself, we're really questioning, has the trust, has it actually been formed, and has he relinquished the legal control? If this was ever flagged, in a legal dispute or any liability were to occur, it's very likely that the trust would just be a look-through structure, what we would call a sham. So having no independent trustee, whether or not that be a lay trustee or a professional trustee, is a big no-no. So if this is you, please get in touch and we can help you. Professional trustee, obviously somebody who's qualified. A corporate entity it could be, especially in the case of Ingamora. We offer our trustee services through limited companies, so a corporate entity which has directors that will specialize in trust management and provide extra skills in terms of managing that trust. What legislation governs a trustee? I'll just touch on this quickly, but it's the Trust Act 2019. It replaced the 1956 Trustee Act, which was very outdated and needed a bit of work. It took effect on the 30th of January 2021. And it applies to existing and future trusts. So if you establish a trust before 2021, you're not under the old legislation, you're under the new one. The Trust Act replaced all of the legislation, so you have to adhere to that one. The main objectives of that are to ensure efficient trust administration, hold trustees accountable, and it modernizes legislation to make it more accessible. The point of the Trust Act was just to make it easier for a lot of people to understand. I think the government recognized that there were a lot of trusts not being run by professional trustees, so it was the aim of it was to try and assist with that. What responsibilities does a trustee have? Well, the responsibilities are always to the beneficiaries. That's what you call a fiduciary duty. And all of the responsibilities under the Trust Act, of which there are many. We will touch on that quickly in the next slide. The impact of the Trust Act 2019. I just want to check how I'm doing for time as well. We're 15:15. Okay, all good. Trustees have lots of responsibilities under the Trust Act. We're not expecting you to sit down and read through all of it. That's our job. So if you do want any more information about that, let us know. Trustees do have a duty to know about legislation and the trust deed. So try and find out as much as possible. But if you have any questions regarding your responsibilities under the Trust Act, please let us know. And we do have a previous webinar on our website under my page, and it covers these duties off in quite a bit more detail. So that might be a good resource for a few of you to go to. One of the big changes under the Trust Act was that we had to disclose certain trust information to beneficiaries. The reason why we had to do this, so many of my clients came in when I was talking about this and sort of made the face and said, why do we need to do this? Well, I think it's quite important. It's to ensure that the trustees are accountable. What if something happened to mum and dad and the trustees are holding the trust fund on behalf of, their 3 children? They need to know who we are. They need to know who to contact. And they do need to hold us accountable. We need to make sure that we're providing the best trustee services. And we need, they need information. So that's why we did that. We ended up sending thousands of letters to our beneficiaries, and we're at a point now where I would say the majority, if not all, of our beneficiary disclosure has been done. But if you did have any questions on that, let us know. There are certain cases where you don't need to disclose, but it's certainly an important one under the Trust Act. So we will we can go through that if you need. There's lots of record keeping obligations, so making sure that we have original documents, that they're stored. Trust documents need to be kept forever. I don't quite know what forever means. I expect sort of maybe when 3 or 4 generations have gone. I don't think they'd be keeping mum and dad's trust deed from 100 years ago, but as long as sort of somebody's alive in terms of the beneficiaries, definitely worth keeping those. We need to produce financial statements for the trust. Documents must be properly maintained, and minutes recording decisions need to be drafted and kept. And that really ensures down the line, if there was any dispute in the trust or any litigation, it just ensures that we have the correct paperwork in order to back up the trustees' decisions. Very important. Okay, next slide. How do you actually appoint an independent trustee? Do some research, find a reputable firm, somebody who has expertise, somebody who you can trust. That word trust always comes into it, but you are relinquishing legal control of your assets, so always good to eyeball the person that you're about to sign over your entire wealth to. Annual trustee fees are always a consideration, and fees in general. We have we are in touch with many of our professional partners, and we do see that the fees do differ quite a bit. A cheap versus expensive fee doesn't always reflect the level of service and expertise. So it's always one to sort of do your own research and find a good one. Ingamora is in a unique position because we not only do we offer professional trustee services, we also have 7 directors, all with varying levels of trust experience, but many of them have been doing this for a long time, so are experts in the field. But of course, we provide accounting, tax services through our separate sort of Ingamora business. So it's a big advantage to having all of that in the same place. Once you've chosen your independent trustee, your solicitor, or if you're appointing us, our trust team, would draft up something called a deed of appointment and removal. We would remove the current trustee, if there is one, and we'd appoint one of our trustee companies. The appointer is the person with the power to appoint and remove trustees. So that's that Mr. Smith sitting right at the top in the structure chart that you saw at the beginning. He's the person that would sign that off, along with the departing, new and continuing trustees. Once that's all signed, we'd send it off to your solicitor so that they could make any asset changes necessary. So say, for example, Mr. Smith decides to move his family home into the trust, and then there's a change of trustees down the line. He would be looking at updating the title on his property with his solicitor, and the solicitor would also contact the bank for any mortgage or guarantee documents to be updated. Alongside that, investment portfolio, they'd need to be informed, insurance on the property, they'd need to be informed, any shares in any underlying businesses, companies, all of these asset changes would need to be done. And it should really be very much a handheld exercise with your new independent trustee to assist you through that process. Finally, we would need to disclose to the beneficiaries that there's been a change of trustee. Anytime you change trustees under the Trust Act, if you have disclosed to your beneficiaries already, you would then need to disclose the change of trustees again. Key risks of not having a professional trustee. Okay, so this is kind of what I've said already, but in the reverse. But the Trust Act imposes lots of duties on trustees, such as acting in good faith, exercising reasonable care and skill, keeping accurate records. Non-compliance can lead to significant penalties and legal disputes if anything were to happen down the line. I think for many people, these trusts have sort of been running in the background. No one's really paid any attention to what's going on. And then something happens and the consequences can be quite severe. So knowing what's under the Trust Act is certainly an excellent first step to find out what your obligations are as trustees. Trustees are responsible for the management and investment of the trust. They are responsible for safeguarding and growing trust assets. There are mandatory duties under the Trust Act to essentially enhance investments. It's not always the case, so you can't always foresee what the future holds. So you would need to look at your trustee carefully. We can actually dispense with certain duties under the trustee. That's a whole other webinar. But the trustees do still have a responsibility for safeguarding those assets. A lack of investment knowledge, financial acumen can result in mismanagement, devaluation of assets, insolvency. We're not expecting everybody to be certainly an investment advisor, but having some sort of investment knowledge or knowing who to turn to for that knowledge or advice certainly can help. Family conflicts can arise, beneficiary disputes, especially when family members are trustees. They often make biased or uninformed decisions, and this results in some very unhappy beneficiaries who may challenge the trust or the validity of the trustee's actions, and this can lead to costly legal battles, something that we do see quite a bit in New Zealand. So again, another reason for having an independent trustee. Many lay trustees, so your brother, sister, auntie, uncle, niece, nephew, they're unaware that holding a trusteeship can lead to personal liability for breach of trust. And even if this is unintentional, this is still the case. So just sort of being aware of that liability as a trustee and the risks that are involved with being a trustee, always something to be aware of. Continuity, so lay trustees may resign, pass away, become incapacitated. This leaves the trust in limbo. So without a clear succession plan or professional oversight, the administration of the trust may become inconsistent, leading to disruptions. So again, just having that professional trustee provides that succession, especially where there is a corporate trustee involved. Even if directors of the firm come and go, retire, you will always have other directors on the board or other ones stepping up, which actually has zero effect on your trust. There's no changes in terms of the underlying assets. The only thing you may have to do is update the odd bank mandate or two, but there is no consequence in terms of asset ownership. I'll just go through a couple of these because I can't believe it's already 11:25. We'll just go through a couple of these, but this is real world case law. So when I say to my clients, you must hold annual meetings, you must have good records, and they sort of roll their eyes and say, well, nothing's ever going to happen. It has, and there's lots of case law around mismanagement or trust management. You can go ahead and look these ones up yourself. Probably the best one to talk about is Wong versus Maples Group. This case involved a family trust where a lay trustee made uninformed investment decisions, resulting in substantial financial losses. And the beneficiaries did actually manage to successfully sue the trustee for breach of trust, and the trustees were held personally liable for mismanagement. So this case really enforces the importance of the professional financial oversight in trust management, and something that your experienced professional trustee can bring. I won't go through the other ones just because I'm aware that we are a little bit time restricted, but please go ahead and look those ones up. In the case of Erseg and versus Erseg, That was regarding beneficiary information under the Trust Act. And the final one, Spencer, this was a beneficiary who was also a trustee, failed to properly administer the trust, again, resulting in financial losses. So all quite important case law to come out of mismanagement of trusts. What else can an independent trustee do? Well, we can do lots of things, but regular trust reviews is a big one. So anything from facilitating an annual trust meeting, regular phone calls with the client, face-to-face meetings, making sure that you speak to us regarding asset disposal or acquisition, anything from preparing your wishes, important family updates. So we constantly check in with our clients. We see majority of our clients at least once a year, but a lot of our clients like to check in with us on a regular basis, just because the trustee is a big part of their sort of wealth, and usually play a big part in their family and the succession of wealth as well. We provide knowledge to our clients through regular updates in changes of legislation, that being the Trust Act, and any change of legislation, new tax legislation that comes along, anything that impacts our clients, we can provide that knowledge. So that's another thing we constantly check in with our clients on. Another advantage to having a professional trustee outside of the management of the trust is just the professional partners we have. So our big wide support network we can use to help you out. Whether it be a sort of banking relationship, investment, provider, solicitors. We have a wide outreach of network here, so it's something that we can sort of provide on to our clients. A big one is balancing family dynamics. So, we often have to get involved and sort of act as a bit of a mediator between family dynamics. I'll provide you with a bit of an example, actually. So which one have we got here? Yes. So we had a trust where settlor had sadly passed away, leaving behind two children, adult children, who unfortunately did not get on, and the situation was made a lot worse after the death of their parent. The assets consisted of trust property, which was unable to be sold for a period of time. Now, I believe that was due to tax reasons, but I can't quite remember. It was a long time ago. This caused a huge dispute in the family. They weren't able to sell on those assets and receive their distribution for some time. So, we managed to step in, guide the beneficiaries through the process. We actually managed to get this trust wound up and matters solved a lot quicker than originally thought. And we acted as very much a sort of, a professional person on the outside who had their best interests at heart. And despite living in different countries now, I'm very happy to say that those siblings are now getting on, and everything has been solved with that one. So that's where we sort of really helped our clients in the past. Another big thing is just make sure you review your trust documents. We can provide support there when needed, but your trust deed is your essential Bible. It's where you get all of the information from for running the trust. So that's what we can do. Just a couple more things, and I noticed that we're almost at time, but I'll just be a couple more minutes, if that's all right, Caroline. Okay, great. Do I even need a trust? That's a whole different webinar. That is another hour to go, I reckon. We have over 500,000 trusts in New Zealand, and many of these aren't filing a tax return. So it's likely a huge amount aren't needed. You may be one of those people. You may have been in business in the past and no longer have a requirement. So it's one of those. It's a whole different sort of idea that we can pursue with you if you did have any questions on that. We can certainly consult with you on that one. Many trusts were established for hoping to receive a residential care subsidy. Many changes have been made around that with the ministry, and again, probably a whole different webinar. But you may well be sitting on a trust which isn't useful anymore and certainly not doing its job. So again, please get in touch if this is you. The cost of running a trust may outweigh the advantage. That's what I hear from a lot of clients. If you have a genuine reason for establishing a trust, Mr. Smith, at the beginning of this, the asset protection will far outweigh any fees that you pay for the setup and running of the structure. So even though it is hard to pay the annual fee and the ongoing costs running a trust, the protection it provides to you is huge in comparison to the fees. So I think the key is setting it up for the right reason. It is crucial. Okay, conclusion. We're almost there, and we're pretty much right on time, so that's good. A lot of words in there, but hopefully you can get a feel for now that failing to appoint a professional trustee can expose to risk, legal disputes, beneficiaries trying to sue the trustees, lots of examples in the case law about how trust administration can lead to consequences. To ensure the long-term success of a trust, appointing a professional trustee is a proactive step. And I just think that, in order to run a well-protected, sufficient trust structure, a professional trustee is absolute key. And please get in touch if you have any concerns regarding trust administration, or you did want to explore the professional trustee services. Please reach out for a consultation. My email address is at the beginning and the end of this presentation. We would be very happy to hear from you, so please get in touch. Doesn't look like we actually have any questions. Please get in touch if you can think of anything afterwards. He who asks a question is a fool for a minute, but he who does not ask is a fool for life. That's Confucius. But yeah, please get in touch. There's no stupid questions, certainly when it comes to trust. So yeah, thank you so much for joining me today, and I really appreciate your time. It's been a pleasure. We do have a question. Apologies. Do we have time, Caroline? Okay. How important is it to have an annual meeting of all the trustees? Extremely important. This is an opportunity for all of us to catch up, hear about sort of family changes, talk about the assets, liabilities. It's also key because it's a place where we record that we have been sitting down and well managing the trust. We've considered all of the factors it takes to run a trust, and it's a great place to record us being good trustees and having a good sort of compliance over the trust in terms of those minutes. So once you have your annual trustee meeting, please draw up some minutes, get them signed by all the trustees, hold them in your minute book, and it's a great way of looking that there's some good governance under the trust. So very important. All right, thank you, everybody. And I think there's a short questionnaire at the end. So if you can take the time to answer that, I'd be extremely grateful. And thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jen. That brings us to the end of the webinar. You will receive an email with a link to the webinar next week. And if you have more questions, please feel free to get in touch with us. Thank you for joining us today.